Tayyib. So now, any of our family members that, and more specifically, I'm speaking to our online family. Sometimes our internet connection is not the most stable. So I do understand that I will be choppy at certain points of the presentation, but fear not, you will have access to all of these slides and all this information will be on the school website later today, inshallah. So if there's anything that you need to revisit in terms of, and this is for all of us here, if there's anything that you need to revisit, something that went by too fast, you will have access to viewing it on the school website, inshallah. So what will we be covering in the next 20 to 30 minutes? We will go over the different goals that we have for this year. Who are some of the teacher and administration that your experience will consist of? What do communications look like? A little bit of the school calendar, what our schedule looks like every week, some supplies, curriculum overview, school rules, and then any questions and answers that you may have. As far as your experience at the masjid and the mosque, there will be three main departments that you will always refer to. The first, in regards to registration, teacher portal, your payment method needs to be updated, things along the lines of registration experience, that you have the designated point of contact, which is our administration team, that you can find them at the email below at iaaschool@myalanmasjid.com. Next, we have the Shura liaison, which is the Shura representation that we have. Anyone that wishes to get into contact with them can find and do so through the email below. And lastly, the person that you can always point the finger to in regards to curriculum or what's being covered. What is my child learning? What does their 1.5, 2, 3 hour experience look like? You can always point that finger at myself, and you can always contact me at that email below, inshallah. Now, communication is something that we really, really hope that we can try to keep consistent on both sides, because we see your child for like 2 hours a week. Really, that's about it. And they get like maybe an hour, hour and a half instruction. The rest of the time they're with you. So it's going to take two to tango, right? It takes two hands to clap. So the idea is whatever we do, whatever we impart, whatever we cover, whatever we go over, you will also be shared those things. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you sit with your high schooler and start going over all of those same things. But the idea is it needs to be reinforced from both sides, right? Whatever we're covering also needs to have some semblance at the home as well. So there's going to be WhatsApp platforms, and I'll go to the slide that has the QR code in just a second. But each and every single week, there will be some sort of communication that's made to the parents, whether that's just a newsletter updating you about what has been covered or what is to be covered, or some actual big announcements such as special events or any field trips that we have or anything that we're doing extracurricular. All of those are via our communications platform. The first is the email platform. Many of you are here actually by way of perhaps the email. Secondly is going to be our WhatsApp group. So if everyone can take about a minute or so to whip out your phones, and this will inshallah be the first of two WhatsApp groups that you'll join. This WhatsApp group is the main school WhatsApp group. Now, these aren't just WhatsApp groups, they're communities, if you're familiar with them. And so essentially, when you enter this group, it may say that, hey, your request is pending, et cetera, et cetera. Just don't worry, just go ahead and have it pulled up. You'll get, inshallah, admitted into the group. This first group that we have is for general announcements. Any school closures, any holidays, any special programming, et cetera, that will all be done via this WhatsApp group right here. This is our main WhatsApp group. This second WhatsApp group that you'll be joining is the Misbah specific WhatsApp group. The first one is the weekend school. So Saturday, Sunday school, Misbah for our older kids, our middle schoolers and high schoolers. This is the more specific, like the program specific WhatsApp group. So you can go ahead and join this one as well. For any of our online folk, you can please feel free to grab another device, and I'll give us a minute or so to go ahead and join the group. So I'll actually keep both of them open. This one on this screen, since there's not too many of us, this one on this screen is a general WhatsApp, and then this one on these screens is the specific Misbah group. Are we ready to roll? All right, let's keep going. Bismillah. Now the school year, this will also be on the school website. We try to follow Allen ISD, knowing that many parents obviously have a personal life and want to do things with family and want to go places and do things. And so we're not going to bound families down by saying, oh, Thanksgiving break, we're going to have lessons, and winter break, we're going to have classes. So pretty much anytime Allen ISD is off, we'll be off as well. So if you look at the schedule, the 13th, classes begin next week, inshallah. And then the 3rd, we're off, Labor Day weekend. And then the 8th of October, we're off, fall break. And then in November, there's Thanksgiving break. But in November, that's when we start our special events. The first event will be live life like the day of the Prophet. So that's a very special event in that like the whole masjid pretty much is transformed into just living a day in the life of a Prophet. What his routine looked like, what his dietary needs look like, what his just everything from his waking up to his sleeping. So that's one special event that we do. December, we do another bonfire event for the middle schooler and high schoolers. I don't know, for some reason, every year a topic that comes up is gin stories. But anyway, it's s'mores event. I like calling it s'mores event. And then in January, we have another special event. Usually when we do our field trips, February is probably the only month where we don't have anything going on, no breaks, no special events. March is where things get a little bit different. Now, March and April, as the years continue to move, Misbah and Sunday school will coincide with Ramadan, right? And of course, we will definitely have a class or two in the month of Ramadan, as that has its own environment and its own atmosphere, et cetera, et cetera. But our attentions are towards other things as well, right? Our focuses need to be on specific things. So the last 10 days of Ramadan are off, which will be in around the April time. May will be graduation, right? End of the year ceremony. And then June and July, we get started for our next school year. What does a general school schedule look like? Well, 12:30, we'll start the middle school instruction, and they'll have about an hour worth of class. And then from 1:30 to 2, for about half hour, they have their recess, lunch and recess. High school, they start their class at, they start their recess while middle school is having class from that 12:30 to 1:30 time. High school has their recess from 1 to 1:30. They start off their class experience with recess. And then after they've done their recess, then they come into class from 1:30 all the way till 2:30, and that's their class instruction. And Dhuhr prayer is at 2:30, and that is also part of the school day. So if there's any parents that can come and join the Dhuhr prayer, that would be the most ideal and the best. Well, we do definitely understand circumstances, different schedules, different events. And so if someone does need to go early for any particular reason, we are understanding of that as well. What will your child cover or your young adult cover in the next 2 years? Misbah, by the way, many of you are maybe returning faces and some of you are new faces. Misbah used to be a 3-year program, but has now been condensed into a 2-year program. Last few years, middle school and high school was put together. Middle school and high school has now been officially separated. Middle school has their own track for 2 years, and high school has their own track for 2 years. Really quickly, if you look at the screen, and inshallah, of course, if you wish to look at this more in detail, you'll find this on the school website. Year 1, Misbah, and by the way, any of the students, irrespective of whether they've had Misbah experience in the previous years, if they're in middle school, they'll start year 1. Because it's even the curriculum has been tweaked. Some of the things have been added and additions have been made as well. Year 1 has about 4 main components: faith groundwork, which deals with essentials such as Aqidah, your regular beliefs, knowing why one is Muslim, Islamic etiquette, the foundations of adab and how to impart on the study of knowledge, different stories of the prophets, and daily essentials such as our salah and our wudu. Year 2 is the prerequisite for year 2, of course, is year 1. In order to go into year 2, one must have completed year 1. And then in year 2, they get a little bit more, a deeper dive into different subjects, such as seerah, selected ahadith, adab, even more into detail. But this specifically deals with the American Muslim identity, how to grow up as a Muslim in this century that we currently live in and the current climate that we live in as well. Things take a little bit of a deeper dive when you get into high school, also year 1 and year 2. And of course, naturally, they are older, and so their subjects will also be more in depth. They start in year one talking about temptations, the case for God's existence. With the rise of atheism, does God even exist? Why do I believe in this religion? That will be one main component of the school year. Connecting to a higher purpose, why we worship God and heroes of Islam. That would be year one. And year two is where they take a really, really deep dive and they get into things such as Sirah. They've experienced Sirah, of course, in their middle school years, but now Sirah will have like a very analytical view and it'll have a more deeper insight as to what the study entails. They'll have environmental ethics, they will have spirituality, and also a new addition into the curriculum is Islam and LGBTQ, and what Islam has to say. And this is also about like a 6-week unit that we cover as well. So those are pretty much, again, if you wish to visit this more in depth, you will find this on the school website. But this just gives you a bit of an overview of what it is that they will cover in middle school and in high school, inshallah. Those that are online, I saw the notification. I know my connection is unstable, so I'm sure I may be cutting out for y'all. Those that joined a little bit later, rest assured, inshallah, these will all be shared on the website as well as shared via email. So if there's any of these slides that you miss, if I cut off for you at any given moment, you will be able to revisit this orientation video as well as these slides presentation afterwards as well. Now, there's a lot of construction going on, as you see. In years past, we've had like 5 different doors where kids can come from and kids can get dismissed from. We had this door, this sister's door, that triangle area door, and it was awesome, right? Because then these kids can go from here, and then the kids that are coming can come from here, and it was beautiful, like no bottleneck, no nothing. Now, we have none of that. We have 2 spaces, okay? So we absolutely need to be on the same page in regards to pick up and drop off. Good for you though, because you have middle schoolers and high schoolers. They're not babies. They can help themselves out. But we as parents and teachers just need to be on the same page of where they need to get dropped off and where they can expect to meet you, right? So that will be this designated area. I'm sure probably majority of you came from this area right here. It's our door 1, and it's our main door at the moment. Brothers and sisters alike. Usually we have the 2 independent entrances. Right now, construction, we have the 1 entrance. And I know this slide also says KG and 3rd. That has nothing to do with us. Our pickup and drop off will be the same area, this door right here. You will drop them off here. They can help themselves. They'll come in class, and then vice versa. Once their class is done, you can let them know. There'll obviously be a volunteer that will be at the door, but there'll be more specifically for 4th and 5th grade, middle school and high school. We let parents know that, hey, even with them bringing phones and things like that, we're a lot more relaxed. Phone policies and things like that, parents typically tend to ask, what are some of the policies that we have in place? It's simple. Students are allowed to bring phones. They're adults, young adults. They can have phones. But we will ask, hey, there's certain time frames of when those phones should come out, right? I don't think you are going to be texting your child in the middle of class, unless it's like an emergency or they expect that text, right? You're not just going to be asking them, hey, what's up? How's your day going, right? Like, they're in class, and you know that, and we know that. And so if the teachers do see phones out at that time, teachers, I'm the one that's teaching. So if I see the phone out, I typically give 1 or 2 grace passes. If it persists, I just collect it till the end of class. I leave it literally at the front of their desk. And if I need to, then I take it from my desk, their desk, and put it on my desk. But that almost never happens. So phone policies are absolutely allowed, just in specific timeframes. Also, I don't need to mention this, but I will. Video games and electronics, things like Nintendo Switches, and all of the above. Again, students, if they bring them to use them during recess time, that's one thing. If we see them being used during class time, same policy, we'll ask the student to put it away. They're young adults. We're not going to treat them like babies. But if, again, it's never happened, but if we do need to collect it from the student, unlike the phone, we won't give the game back to the student. We'll give it to you as a parent. So those are just the 2 policies in regards to phone and any electronics. Now, what are some supplies to bring? Misbah is simple. They need to have the same things every single week. A book bag, notebook, pen and pencil. They need to have something to take notes on. They need to have something to collect information on. If they're just coming into class, that's literally what they're going to get out of class. Like they just sat, right? Like a lecture. We go to Friday khutbah prayer. We heard someone, listened to it, got inspired a little bit, and went home. It's not really a classroom experience. So we're not here to give khutbahs and lectures to people. We're here to actually, sit and try to reflect with one another. So at least on a week-to-week basis, on the bare minimum, we're hoping that students can be very consistent, bringing their own supplies. The second one is important now this year and has not been in previous years as much, is a water bottle. Water bottle, why? Because if they don't have a water bottle and they need to drink water, what does that experience look like? Getting out of class, going to wherever the nearest water station is, drinking water, then coming all the way back to class. And by that time, 7 minutes of instruction have passed, 5 to 7, right? Going down, drinking water. Someone came salam, checked my phone real quick, took my time walking back upstairs. Yeah, we only got an hour with them, right? So all of these things are huge. So water bottle, as small as it may sound, it actually makes the world of a difference. They're young adults. They're really good with it. It helps a lot more with the younger classes, but it'll definitely help with our young adults as well. So just those two things, a book bag with actual supplies and a water bottle as well. What are some corrective action plans that we have, just to quickly go through them? We start and do everything with the correct intentions. We try to do everything having mindfulness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We come in every single week trying to have a growth mindset, not just the students, but even as teachers and leaders, expected leaders. We try to show compassion, not only to ourselves, but everybody that's around. And that starts from the teacher all the way down to the last individual. Things like bullying and things like, picking on people, again, does not happen too often. But if it does happen, it's absolutely not tolerated. Unlike the phone and the game systems, bullying is probably one of the worst things that any student can do. Does not happen. I'm just giving you hypotheticals. If that does happen, we address it once in school. The second time, we notify parents. And then again, it's not to get any student in trouble, but how can we work together to try to correct this behavior? Be on time. This timing is incorrect. It is not 10 a.m. and 9:55. However, if you are in middle school and your class starts at 12:30, in order to start that class at 12:30, we hope the students can be here at least 5 minutes before class time, and no earlier than 10, 15 minutes before class time. Because to give you a little bit of an idea, the whole kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, they're going through their dismissal process. So whilst they're getting dismissed and they're leaving through that door, our fourth, fifth, middle school and high school is entering through this door, right? So it's like one experience is just ending and another one is just starting. So in order for us to start class exactly on time, we hope that parents can, inshallah, be mindful of bringing students on time. Be ready to have fun and learn about Deen, participate in classroom activities, follow the teacher's instructions, show respect to each other in the classroom, keep hands to yourself, speak in turn and listen when only others speak, and take care of the classroom. One thing I want parents to hear and to communicate, inshallah, is number 5 says, be ready to have fun and learn about Deen. And each and every, whether it's I believe there might be a parent on the Zoom here, so I will make sure just to mute all of us, just so all the other parents can hear, inshallah. Okay. We will try to do our due diligence. Again, you're trusting us with your child for about an hour every single week. The other time they have recess and lunch, right? So literally an hour of instruction from the entire week that you have them. If there's a case, and it happens, it's natural, where a child is registered perhaps against their will, or it wasn't on their priority list and the parent was like, I'm going to register you, you don't really have much of a choice, communicate that to me. I rather have a clear vantage point of where all of the students are at, so that way it gives the teacher an adequate start to get connected with the students in the right way. That doesn't mean like, oh yeah, just because you're here for the wrong intentions, you're not allowed to sit in class. No, it helps prepare, because as much as it's a classroom experience, it's also an individual experience as well, right? Trying to talk to a student, trying to relate to a student, right? Trying to connect with the student in whatever way. So if that is the case for any of our parents, please don't feel shy. I don't bite. I'm not mean. I might look so, but I'm not, I promise. please come and speak to me if that is the case for your child. Now, as far as any positive behavior reinforcements, we, alhamdulillah, have not gotten this. Misbah has been going on for 4 years. But typically, again, if there's any student that's going through any difficulty, we try to handle it here in school, right? In a dignified and a respectful manner. Our middle schoolers and high schoolers, mashallah, are in a very interesting phase of their life in that they have so many different things going on. They have school, they have a career in front of them that they have to think of, they have life, and society really has a lot of pressure on them, right? How can we utilize this 1 hour, 1.5 hour experience to not just be something that is like a feel-good thing, but something that they can carry with them for the rest of their life? Something that they can actually make as part of their identity. Sorry, I was not changing the slide. So as far as parent-teacher meetings, we'll have one during the school year before your winter break, but it's really, really going to take constant communication, not just between parent and teacher, but even the student and even our young adult, right? Parent communicating with the young adult, and then of course, our job as teachers to try to do that as well. So really just making sure that all of us are doing our due diligence and doing our role, inshallah. If you ever feel like any of your children, whether you're really young ones or you're young adults, are exhibiting any illnesses or any sicknesses, they have a slight cough or slight boogers coming out or whatever it is, just keep them home for that week and inshallah let them rest up. If there's any material that they miss, Misbah, they'll have a chance to recap that material anyway, right? Whether it's like slides, they may not have had the class activity experience with all of their classmates, but they'll have something to recap whatever they may have missed. Now, that doesn't mean like to make a habit of missing classes, because that will also be another thing. But definitely, if you do feel like you are coming down with something, again, you know, you are parents as well. You can know how real the sickness may be or how not real the sickness may be. But inshallah, if it is, we take their word for it. They're young adults. They wouldn't lie to us. If they are not feeling well, please try to give them that break, inshallah. And I think that is pretty much it. Alhamdulillah. Any questions? Yes. Yes. So they will need to, inshallah. Now, when they come in their first day of class, that's any material pertaining to the classroom. So whether they need to get on a Google Classroom and all of those things. So this WhatsApp is for me to get in touch with you, right? So for example, if I need students to bring phones or to bring a computer this first week, I'm going to hit you up on this WhatsApp group and inshallah hope that you can relay that and they can come with whatever they need for the first day. So that first day, once they get on whatever respective groups or Google Classrooms that they need to have, that will kind of be our main go-to communication for the duration of this school year, inshallah. So the students will be on it as well, but if parents want to join, feel free. That will have like all our main content. WhatsApp is just going to have like a newsletter. Like I'll just show you just kind of like this slide right here. Like you'll have an overview of what was covered, right, on the WhatsApp. But if you want like an actual in-depth view of what was fully covered that day, like all the slides, all the content, all the material, that's Google Classroom. That won't be shared on WhatsApp. WhatsApp will just give you very general overviews, very general, you know, communications. The more in-depth ones will be, you know, through the avenue of the students, and then parents can also have access to that as well, inshallah. Yeah, well, 100%. So this year, so the last few years we've had books, and this year we are switching away from that concept, and we did not provide a main manual just because there's a number of different topics that we'll be doing. Do you get what I'm saying? So there wasn't just one book or a few set of books that covered the wide variety of things that we're going to cover. So we'll definitely will give them some study material and guides. But in addition to that, if you're asking for like certain books that you feel like will be good for their overall development, I can also very much share those things with you as well. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah. If my son is in middle school, I'm just going to take one of the questions online. Can he or she wait till Dhuhr prayer, or he gets dismissed earlier? So look, middle school and high school, we're a lot more flexible. and we give them that autonomy. They're old, all right? So we're not going to treat them like kids. So if you trust your child from 2 o'clock till 2:30 that they can take care of themselves and they can do their due diligence and wait for the Dhuhr prayer, then of course they can most definitely feel free to wait for the Dhuhr prayer. But if you feel like your child gets a little frazzled, or they have maybe separation anxiety, or this is their first time coming to a new space and they're not too familiar, then I wouldn't just say leave your child and be like, hey, I'm just going to come pick you up at 2:30. Naturally, we're people of visual, right? You came with a group of people and now all of a sudden all your classmates are gone and you're still here. It sits a little different, right? So you know your child best. From our side, we give you that autonomy. Middle school and high school is very easy. If they want to stay till Dhuhr, of course they can stay till Dhuhr. Like the gym will be open, they can continue to play basketball, like these things will be available. But you as a parent, number one, will notify us and let us know that that's happening so we can expect that, right? And number two, inshallah, like we if you trust them, we trust you trusting them. Alhamdulillah. Sorry, there was another question that was here. Yes. 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 Right. 100%. Foundations, even in high school, is something that, so actually, as a matter of fact, not even just for middle school and high school, even our whole weekend school, this applies. Some kid came into fourth grade. He missed all those grades from before. So are we just going to throw that child on the deep end and expect them to know all of these things? So the way that, especially the way that I like to kind of start off the year, is kind of having those frameworks and those foundational pieces set anyway. So we will revisit them irrespective, so, and it'll be like a gradual buildup. So even though I know like on the high school side, you saw like some pretty like heavy conversations and topics, that's just because they're old enough to accept, to understand those concepts. But that doesn't mean we'll just start with that, right? Like the first thing we're going to do is just like, hey, let's talk about LGBTQ today, right? Like, all right, cool. Like we'll eventually get to that, inshallah, right? And we'll talk about what it means to at least first be a Muslim, right? Like if you want to talk about what your religion asks from you, at least let's make this our religion first, right? Let's at least believe this to be our religion. I think like something like the existence of God, or like why some of these things. So especially with high school, like I really like to start with those things, because if we don't start with those things, like if I'm having a tough time believing in God or believing in a higher power, dude, none of this Islam stuff is going to be relevant to me at all, right? Like I'll just sit here all year listening to this stuff, but I don't really believe in this stuff. I'll listen to it because I'm here, but I don't really believe in it. So the idea is really just starting with things that are the most important foundations, just basic beliefs, right? And things that we just have as our core nucleus, and then kind of just building from there. So I don't want you to look at like just the curriculum and just think that it's just going to start straight from that. It's definitely a gradual build up. Middle school already has that because like they're starting anyway. And then Misbah, even high school, eventually has like a slow gradual build up. They're older, they get to the deeper end faster, because like, again, the way I can talk to a high schooler is vastly different than how I can talk to a middle schooler. The way that I would need to present a certain idea and a concept to a middle schooler is a lot more difficult at times than how I would need to present it to a high schooler. Sure, high schoolers have more amazing questions and they're maybe more deeper thinkers, but that again plays into why we're able to speak to them sooner about certain topics as well. So I know I spoke a lot there. It will be a gradual buildup, even though it looks like there's heavy topics that are discussed. Eventually, it builds up to that. Okay. Great question. You are actually sitting in a classroom right now. So the lower grades, fourth grade, fifth grade, this is their space. Misbah has their class upstairs. You actually see that massive projector that's down. They have their designated space upstairs. Misbah is uninterrupted. That whole upstairs space, it's like a seminary style setup. And then we just have our classes there. So middle school comes in first, they have their instruction. And as soon as middle school swaps out, then high school comes in and high school has their session. So All the other grades have this area downstairs, like different parts of the masjid. Misbah, your child's experience will just be here, this upstairs area. When they come in, they'll take their shoes off. There's only one area to take your shoes off right now anyway, and everyone enters through the same area. Enter through here, shoes off over there, and then we just go straight upstairs. Great question. Yeah, man, of course. Yeah, both middle school and high school. Yeah. And then the next half hour that they get is for the lunch and recess. So I would definitely not advise picking them up right after class. Class is one experience, right? Suhbah is another experience. Friendship, community, making friends, that's super, super important. If I'm picking my child up and I didn't even give them a chance at all, like, okay, they got class experience, which is great, alhamdulillah, but that's not the whole experience. The whole experience consists of them coming and actually forging new relationships, right? Like, oh snap, this guy is also into video games and into computers or into whatever, right? Interests or into basketball or into anything. And so emergency situations, yes, totally understandable, but that applies to anything, right? Like even if they need to be picked up during class time, if it's an emergency, it's an emergency. But beyond emergency, class is till 2 o'clock. So yeah, I know they're still in the gym and they're just like hanging out and they're just chilling and doing their thing. It's still super, super important, man. And I think any parents that, again, pick your child up, it's okay, but a big chunk of the experience gets missed out. Yes. So that one sister did ask about, yeah. So again, middle school is a big class, right? It's about 50 kids, 51 or 2 kids. So if 1 or 2 parents want to keep them here, that's fine. If it's a group of like 20, 25 middle schoolers, then they usually need someone to chaperone them because they become a rowdy bunch. So far, like we'll just take it case by case. So if a parent needs to pick them up at 2:30 and they need to stay here for Dhuhr, then as long as it's communicated and we know beforehand, that should be fine. Mm, mm. So the best would be the WhatsApp group. You'll have my number, right? Yeah, yeah, that you can. So not the general WhatsApp group. I don't even think anyone can post on the general WhatsApp group. It'll be your class specific WhatsApp group. The admin, yeah, and you can just message me. So now, even though you'll communicate it, I would definitely recommend if it can stay as consistent as it can. So like a weekly change would probably get a little bit more difficult to stay on top of. So if it's something like, hey, this month we're going to aim to try to come at 2, but we have this one week that something came up, we'll need to come up at 2:30. Totally cool, right? Versus like each week kind of shifting, I think that might get a little confusing. So, but we'll play it by ear. You get what I'm saying? Schedules are flexible. It takes about 10 minutes. Yeah. By the time your child will have their shoes on and be ready to get out the door, maximum 2:45. Maximum. Yeah, yeah. Salah finishes by 7 to 8 minutes and then 2 minutes to leave. So yeah, but maximum 45. Well, same class area, but they're separate classes, right? So like if you look at the schedule, when middle school finishes is when high school starts. So like high schoolers are going to be high-fiving your middle schoolers as middle school is coming down and high school is going up. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So, or they'll be high-fiving them in the gym because obviously I anticipate high schoolers being dragged out of the gym rather than them coming upstairs on their own. But we'll see, inshallah. Yes. High school has about, I think, 38, 39. It was right at the cusp of like 40. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Year long. Year long. Matter of fact, now Saturdays, just throwing that out there, will also inshallah expect a change. just so that it doesn't get too confusing for our families. So weekends now at Allen Masjid, you can look forward to a 2:30 dhuhr. But for now, confirmed as your Sunday 2:30s, that's year long. Doesn't change. If the school year is on, it's still 2:30. If the school year is off, it's still 2:30. Great question, Jealous. Anyone here have a question? Any other questions? Many of our parents are traveling, so I don't want you to look around or look online and think it's reflective of how many have joined. There's a lot of students, mashallah, and many that can't come today to also try to register, but we definitely don't have the space. Going once, any last questions? Play, y'all. If anyone, again, wants to revisit any of this information, whether it's this actual recording